Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. To start, I, 52 male, was married to my ex-wife, Laura, 50 female, for nearly 15 years. For most of that time, I thought we were happy. We met in college, fell in love, and built what I believed was a solid life together. We had one child, our daughter, Sophie, 30 female. Sophie was my whole world from the moment she was born. I did everything a dad is supposed to do. Took her to school, coached her little league team, helped her with her homework, and did all the dad stuff that I could. I worked a lot back then, long hours at a job I didn't particularly like, so that Laura could stay home with Sophie and we could live comfortably. We weren't rich, but we were doing okay, or so I thought. About 12 years ago, everything fell apart. I found out Laura had been cheating on me with some guy named Mark, 58 male. Mark was rich, like really rich. He owned several businesses and was the type of guy who flew around in private jets, had multiple homes, and could drop thousands on a whim without blinking an eye. I never could have competed with that financially. Looking back, I think Laura had been drifting away for a while before I found out about the affair, but I was too busy working to notice. When I finally confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She admitted she'd been seeing Mark for over 2 years and was planning to leave me for him. To say I was crushed would be an understatement. It felt like my entire world had come crashing down. I thought Laura and I had a strong marriage, but it turned out that money meant more to her than anything I could offer. So we went through a nasty divorce. She still wanted to leave me homeless, despite leaving me for a millionaire. Divorce cost me a lot financially. But to make matters worse, Sophie, who was 18 at the time, decided she wanted to live with her mom and Mark instead of staying with me. She said Mark could provide her with a better life, and I'll never forget the words she used. He can give me everything I've ever wanted. That moment broke me. It wasn't just losing my wife, it was losing my daughter's loyalty. I tried to stay in touch with Sophie, but every time I reached out, I could tell she didn't really care. She was too wrapped up in the fancy new life her mom and Mark were providing. I would hear about the expensive vacations they were going on, the designer clothes Sophie was wearing, and the private schools she was attending, all thanks to Mark's money. I tried to be happy for her, but it was hard not to feel like I had been completely replaced. Things got even worse a few years later when Sophie got engaged. She was planning a big, extravagant wedding, and I was looking forward to being a part of it, even if things between us had been distant. But a few months before the wedding, I got a call from Sophie telling me that I was no longer invited. Apparently, Mark didn't want me there because it would be awkward for her mom and him to have me around. Sophie said it would be better if I didn't come, to keep things simple. Also, Mark was funding the wedding, so she didn't want to make him angry or upset. She didn't even seem upset about it, just matter of fact. I was heartbroken. The thought of not walking my daughter down the aisle, of not being there for one of the most important days of her life, was devastating. I tried to reason with her, but it was clear her loyalty lay with Mark and her mother, not me. I let it go. I didn't want to cause drama or make things harder for her, so I stayed silent. But that moment solidified something in me. I realized that I was no longer part of her life in any meaningful way. She had chosen her side, and it wasn't mine. From that point on, I decided to focus on rebuilding my life and moving on. I wasn't going to beg for her attention or force myself into a life where I wasn't wanted. Over the next few years, I did just that. I met Linda, 49 female, who is now my wife, and we hit it off immediately. She had been through a rough divorce as well, and we connected over our shared experiences. Linda has 2 kids from her previous marriage, Kyle, 22 male, and Maya, 19 female. From the moment I met them, they treated me with respect and kindness. It didn't take long for me to form a close bond with them, and they eventually started calling me Dad, something that meant more to me than I could even express. Unlike Sophie, who had turned her back on me for a man with more money, Kyle and Maya genuinely seemed to care about me for who I was. They didn't see me as a wallet, they saw me as family. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family again. Financially, things started to improve for me as well. I had worked my way up in my career, made some good investments, and while I wasn't wealthy, I was in a comfortable place. I wasn't struggling like I had been after the divorce, and I was able to provide a nice life for Linda, Kyle, and Maya. I even set up a will that ensured they would inherit everything I have when I pass. It felt right to leave my estate to the people who had shown me love and loyalty when I needed it most. As far as I was concerned, Sophie had made her choice, and it wasn't me. Which brings us to the present. A few months ago, out of the blue, I got a call from Sophie. I hadn't heard from her in almost 3 years, so I was shocked to see her name on my phone. At first, I thought maybe she just wanted to reconnect. But she told me that Mark's business had gone bankrupt. Apparently, he had been hiding the fact that his companies were in serious financial trouble for years, and now he was broke. Gone were the fancy vacations, the designer clothes, and the lavish lifestyle Sophie had grown accustomed to. To make matters worse, Sophie's husband had left her not long after their second child was born, and now she was a single mother struggling to make ends meet. I'll be honest, part of me felt bad for her. Being a single mother with no financial support is no easy thing. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the pain of being replaced and disinvited from her wedding, wasn't so quick to feel sorry. Still, I listened as she explained her situation. She told me she was struggling to pay rent, that she needed help with her kids' school fees, and that she was desperate. Then came the kicker. She asked me if I could help her financially. I was stunned. After years of silence, after choosing her mother and Mark over me, after disinviting me from her wedding, she now wanted my help? The audacity was unbelievable. I asked her why she thought I would be willing to help her now, after everything that had happened. She didn't have a good answer. She just kept saying things like, "You are my father," and "the kids need their grandfather." At that point, I had heard enough. I told her straight up that I wasn't going to help her. I reminded her of how she had chosen her mom and Mark when they left me, how she had abandoned me for a man with more money, and how she had cut me out of her life. I told her that my stepchildren, Kyle and Maya, were the ones who had shown me love and respect, and that they were the ones who would inherit everything I have. I wasn't going to bail her out just because her rich stepdad was no longer around to do it. And then I laughed. I know it sounds cruel, but I couldn't help it. The irony of the situation was just too much. After all these years of being replaced by Mark, now she was coming to me because Mark had nothing left to give. I wasn't laughing out of joy. I was laughing at the sheer audacity of it all. Sophie didn't take it well. She started crying, saying that I was punishing her for choices she made when she was younger, and that it wasn't fair. She said I should think about my grandkids and their future, that they didn't deserve to suffer just because of what had happened between us. She even went so far as to say that if I didn't help her, she would cut me out of her life completely, and I would never see my grandkids. That's when I lost it. I told her, if that's what it takes for you to get the message, then so be it. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into giving her money by using her kids as leverage. I've built a new life with people who love me, and I'm not going to throw that away for someone who only remembers I exist when she's in trouble. She hung up on me after that, and I haven't heard from her since. Part of me feels guilty because, at the end of the day, she's still my daughter. But another part of me feels like this is just the natural outcome of everything that's happened over the last decade. Actions have consequences, right? She made her bed, and now she's got to lie in it. And frankly, it's not as though she's been showing any interest in me or my life these past years. She was fine when things were going great for her with Mark and her luxurious lifestyle. But now that the gravy train has run dry, I'm suddenly important again? That's what really stings. The fact that it's only when she needs something from me that she reaches out. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of how she had treated me, no admission that maybe she had been wrong to shut me out all those years. Just a straightforward expectation that I would step in now because I'm her father, and that's what fathers do. But where was the daughterly responsibility? Where was her concern for me when I was heartbroken, trying to rebuild my life after the divorce? Where was she when I had to scrape by, trying to make ends meet after Laura took a large chunk of our assets in the divorce settlement? She was too busy enjoying her luxury life. I can't count how many times over the years I tried to reach out, tried to reconnect with her. I sent birthday cards, Christmas gifts, texts asking how she was doing. Sometimes she would respond with a short, polite message, but it was always distant, always formal. Other times, I wouldn't get a reply at all. I kept hoping things would change. I thought maybe, as she grew older, she'd realize that money isn't everything, that she'd see the value in the relationship we once had. But it never happened. Year after year, I watched her grow further and further away from me. And now, out of nowhere, she expects me to bail her out? As if nothing ever happened? As if I haven't spent the last decade being treated like an afterthought? I think what really made me snap, what really got under my skin, was the way she tried to use my grandkids as leverage. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a heartless person. I don't want to see anyone, especially children, suffer. But the fact that she brought them into the conversation, as if their existence should somehow erase everything that happened between us, really rubbed me the wrong way. It felt manipulative, like she was trying to guilt-trip me into helping her by dangling the idea of my grandfatherly duty in front of me. I don't even know these kids. I've never met them, never been invited to be a part of their lives. They're essentially strangers to me. Sophie never once made an effort to introduce me to them, to involve me in their upbringing, to let me be a grandfather in any real sense. And now, all of a sudden, I'm supposed to care deeply about their future? It's not that I don't care, I do. But how am I supposed to feel any real connection to children I've never been given the opportunity to know? What's worse is that she didn't come to me out of love or a desire to reconnect. She came to me because her rich stepdad is broke, and now I'm the last option. If Mark hadn't lost everything, I doubt I'd be hearing from her at all. She'd still be living her fancy life, pretending I don't exist. And as far as her threats to cut me off from seeing my grandkids, that's the most laughable part of all. How can you threaten to take something away from me that I've never had? I've never been given the chance to be a grandfather, so how is it supposed to hurt me if she decides to keep me from seeing them? It's an empty threat, and it only further shows how little she understands me or cares about my feelings. It's all about what she wants, what she needs. So that's where I stand. I know some people will say I'm the a-hole for turning my back on my biological daughter and refusing to help her when she's in need. Maybe they're right. But I also think it's important to recognize when someone is only coming to you because they have no other options. I'm not a wallet. I'm a person, and I deserve to be treated like one. If Sophie wants to rebuild our relationship, it's going to take more than a desperate plea for money to make that happen. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to help my daughter and telling her that my stepchildren will inherit everything I own? OP is not in the wrong here. He built a new life with people who actually care about him. OP's stepkids sound like they've shown OP more love and respect than his daughter has in years. It's one thing to make a mistake when you're young, but she continued to distance herself from OP for a long time. And then to pull the "you'll never see your grandkids" card? That's pure manipulation. OP is absolutely right to protect himself and his new family. She had plenty of opportunities to make amends before things got bad, but she chose not to. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your daughter made her choices, and now she has to face the consequences. It's not like you cut her off out of the blue. You tried to stay connected, but she made it clear her loyalty was with Mark and the lifestyle he could provide. Now that she's in trouble, she wants you to swoop in and fix everything? That's not how it works. If she had cared about keeping you in her life, she would have made the effort a long time ago. Also, using her kids as a way to manipulate you into helping is just low. You have every right to put your stepkids first, especially since they've been there for you. Oof, this is tough. I can see both sides, honestly. Yeah, she did choose money over you, and that sucks. But from what you said, she was pretty young when all this went down. It's easy to get blinded by wealth and shiny things when you're 18 and someone offers you the world. I'm not saying you should bail her out, but maybe consider helping the grandkids in some way. They didn't ask to be in this situation, and if they're truly struggling, it might be worth finding a middle ground. But still, you're not an a-hole for setting boundaries. Honestly, everyone sucks here. Your daughter definitely screwed up, no doubt. She was selfish and chose her stepdad's wealth over her relationship with you. That's on her. But laughing in her face when she was clearly desperate? That's cold, man. I get that you're hurt, but maybe there was a better way to handle it. You don't have to give her anything, and you're right to leave your estate to the people who've supported you. But I think you could have set boundaries without rubbing salt in the wound. If nothing else, maybe extend a hand to the grandkids. They're innocent in all this. I, 32 female, am getting married to Jack, 36 male, in a year. Hopefully, world events are better by then. We've been together 3 years. I have a sister, Diane, 38 female, and a brother, Carl, 36 male. Early on, I decided that I didn't want Diane to be part of my wedding. I left it up to Jack if he wanted to ask Carl to be one of his groomsmen. He asked and Carl accepted. Then, I get a call from Diane about her being my maid of honor. I told her I already asked my best friend. She then asked if she gets at least to be a bridesmaid, and I said no. I explained to her why, and she called me a bee and a bridezilla. She probably then called Mom, because Mom called me telling me to make Diane my maid of honor, and I still said no. Mom said I was ungrateful and had no sense of family. The reason I don't want Diane in my wedding is because she's dating a married man, Andrew, 51 male. She started dating him 3 years ago, and he's still married. I told her I had a problem with this, and I have had low contact with her for the past 2.5 years. Even though he moved out of his family home and into an apartment with my sister, I still have a problem because he's still married. And I also found out that his family, except his mother, doesn't even know Diane exists, let alone is dating him. His siblings and children have no idea about my sister. I even told her that if he started a divorce at the beginning of their relationship, he would have been divorced by now. That time, she called me a bee, told me to mind my own business, and hung up on me. I have forgiven Diane for all the hurt she caused me when we were young, because looking back, it was just kid stuff. But I can't look past this. I honestly don't want her to be part of my wedding. If this is how she treats other people's marriage vows, how can I expect her to have any respect for mine? I'm not saying she's going to try and steal Jack, but I don't want someone who's an adulterer and a mistress standing up with me on our wedding day. Besides, she has been nothing but angry at me for the past 2 years because I refused to accept her relationship, affair. So I'm genuinely concerned she may try to do something with the wedding or bridal party. I keep getting calls from Mom and Diane asking me to just make her maid of honor. I keep saying no, but the things they say to me are really getting to me. I can't sleep because I feel so bad about it. My stepfather and brother, and Jack, are staying out of it. What does everyone else think? Am I being an a-hole by not making my sister maid of honor? And for outlining the reasons why. I probably should not have told her that, but she kept pushing for a valid reason, and I only had the truth to give her. Edit. I forgot to mention that she will still be invited to the wedding. She just won't be a part of the bridal party. Jack and I have decided that her married man will not get an invitation. Why does she care so much about your marriage, yet none of her boyfriend's marriage? Not the a-hole. It's your wedding, your choice, even without the backstory. Not the a-hole. At the end of the day, it's your wedding, not your mother's or sister's, and you have every right to decide who you want to ask to be in your bridal party. Besides, just because you share DNA with someone doesn't give them the automatic right to be in your bridal party.